11 doctors, same answer every time. This is your life now. Most people accept that. They adjust, they manage, they shrink. But what if the story you were told about yourself by doctors, by family, by every system that was supposed to help you was simply wrong? The cost of believing it is higher than you think. This episode is about what it actually takes to stop living someone else's diagnosis.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Impctrs Out Loud with me, your host, Tracy B. Allen. And today we have with us Seema Giri, and Seema is from Uplift Media, and she is going to be talking to us about some very wonderful things today. And so we're just going to get straight into it. You know how we do it. So today, Seema is going to be telling us first, of course, her cause tale, her backstory. Who is Seema and how did she get to where she is today? So, Seema, welcome to Impctors Out Loud.
Thank you, Tracy. And I really want to acknowledge you and what you're creating here. There's
Thank
a lot
you.
of conversations about success, but not many talk about, what it means to create an impact. So I really appreciate the work you're doing. And I'm so happy to be part of that conversation. So my cause tale begins with something that I didn't question for a long time. I had learned how to live in a way that worked on the outside. Be responsible, keep going, don't complain, and do what's expected. And over time, that became my normal. But my body was telling a different story. Even before I became a mother, I was dealing with autoimmune issues, fatigue, pain, inflammation, things that made you feel like you have a never-ending flu. And I really thought that's what I had for a long time. And I just kept pushing through because I didn't know any other way.
Right.
When I had a baby, my beautiful son was born and something shifted there. I remember looking at him and thinking, he deserves a mother who is here and fully here, like 100% present. Because what had happened was that I had become bedridden after delivery. And I saw doctor after doctor after doctor, all the way up to 11 doctors, Tracy.
I believe you.
Each one of them said, sorry, Seema, this is going to be your life from now on. We could make you as comfortable as possible and give you medications, but you're just going to have to deal with having a limited life. So I wasn't able to hold my son and enjoy the joys of being a new mom. And he looked back at me with his beautiful dark brown eyes and smiled. And I said, there's got to be a way. I have to find a way to be 100% present and find a way to heal myself. And I had realized then that I had accepted a way of living that I didn't actually choose. I had learned it. I had adapted it, but I never owned it. And I couldn't pass that on to my child.
Right.
And that's what changed things. That decision, I was no longer willing to live in this way, to follow other people's expectation and blueprint that was set for me. And I was not willing to be disconnected from myself anymore.
Got it.
And I started asking different questions. What if I didn't just manage this? What if I changed how I was living? And
do you mind telling us what was actually happening? What were the symptoms? What were you experiencing?
So one was, chronic pain, and a lot of weakness, and so I couldn't get up. I couldn't take care of myself. I couldn't, just do the basic things of life. It just, because I had rheumatoid arthritis, I had fibromyalgia and hypothyroid. So I'm being an Indian, I'm an overachiever. Couldn't just have one. Had to have.
Yeah, I have two of those. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah. And then they also said chronic fatigue syndrome. So all of those things, and they're like, there was no cures. This was back before internet in
Yeah.
98, right? That's
At what age did your symptoms start?
my symptoms started 6 years prior to 98. So 92, really.
Okay.
Yeah, 92. That's, it just felt like, I'm just tired, not getting enough sleep, like flu symptoms.
Right.
And whenever I went to get tests done, they all came out normal. So the doctor started saying, not saying it specifically to me, but marking in their notes that it's all in my head. And, people started saying, Seema, you're not the only one with problems. There's so many other people. Just get over it. And I was trying to get over it. But, it's like I describe autoimmune symptoms as a tsunami where you look perfectly fine from the outside, maybe tired, but inside there's unmeasurable pain, undescribable pain also that you just can't deal with.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I know.
So and so I started challenging everyone. People were saying to me, Seema, these are doctors, these are experts, they know what they're doing, and you're going to challenge them. But there was this little voice, tiny voice inside Tracy that said, this isn't right. This needs to be something more. There's, this is not your story. So I started listening to that voice and started asking these questions. What if I change the way I look at things? What if I change my eating habits, right? What if I stopped eating processed foods? And at that time, I had a friend also who knew a lot about whole food nutrition and nutrition from her own healing journey, and she started sharing those things with me. So everything others said wouldn't help. I started doing those anyway, and that's exactly what really supported me.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, Tracy, what happened was I started trusting my inner voice, started listening to it and started trusting it. With the kind of life I had as an Indian family, you're given a blueprint and you follow that, right? Whether it meets your needs or not. You're just supposed to follow that. You become an engineer or a doctor, right? And you
Yeah. I have Indian friends who say that all the time. They're like, I was told what I needed to do as an adult. So,
and then that's what they said. This is going to make you happy, right? And it's all with great intention because your parents want you to be successful, right? But you also need to be able to live your truth. And what I believe each one of us comes into this world to do something and do something specific and do something only that you are meant to do. So the vision you have is not going to make sense to another person, even your parents, because it's your vision. God or the higher source has given you that particular vision. So I finally realized that for myself, and I started listening and tuning into that and following my intuition. And what started happening was I started feeling better. I was able to, move again. I was able to do things with my baby that I enjoyed, and I was able to be 100% present. And I was able to see a possibility and a new life for myself. And, of course, I vowed I was going to do certain things that my parents did with me, that, that I would change things with my son. So I also, when I started to express myself, I started listening, I started thinking, how do I speak more honestly? How do I stop editing myself? I was doing that a lot, don't say this, don't say that. And how to trust what I know. Like, I know I have a lot of wisdom, right? Even then, I was in my 20s then. I have a lot of wisdom. And then how to trust what I know rather than trying to get it validated from outside.
Right. You
So
hit on a whole lot of points. I'm not cutting you off, but I want
yeah,
to jump
yeah,
in and talk about a few points that you talked about. So, you talked about going to the doctor and you were complaining of all of these symptoms. And because you're taking the traditional test that they normally do, the blood work, the x rays, whatever, sonograms,
yeah,
and they're not finding anything, they automatically revert to, well, it has to be in your head. Are you
yeah.
sure you're really sick? And you telling your friends and family members, hey, this is how I'm feeling. Something is wrong. I don't feel right, blah, blah, blah. But because you look healthy on the outside, they too begin to believe that maybe you're like a hypochondriac, right?
Exactly. That's a perfect word.
And
Yes.
yeah. And but you live in your body, so you know what you're feeling on a regular basis.
Yeah.
When you decided to make those changes, did you discuss it with your doctor, or did you just go ahead and make the changes and then go back to the doctor when you were feeling some relief?
So during this time when I asked them, what if I made changes in nutrition? What if I made changes in this? Because they all, before I had my son,
Mhm.
they were also saying that I'm depressed. I was
Right. Yes, they
newly
love to tell you
married.
that as well.
Yeah, so it's like maybe you're depressed, and that really confused me so
Mhm.
much, Tracy, because I was like, I'm newly married, we're having fun, we're partying, Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
Right.
Sunday, right? But
Mhm.
we're not much of a drinker, so it wasn't like we're getting drunk and
Right.
that's impacting our body, right?
Mhm.
Had some really close friends and good connections. We were traveling, so I was like, wait a minute, I thought
Mhm.
this is what happiness looked like. Am I really depressed and I don't know it? Am I that
Right.
far out?
Mhm.
So then when my friend Vina, she was like a mom to me. She had gone through something similar and she's like, Seema, stop listening to everyone. If your body is saying something, you
Mhm.
need to be listening to your body because your body knows best.
Right.
And she also said, you got to take control of your life. Forget about what anyone is saying. What do you believe? What do you think? And I
Mhm.
think because she was also Indian,
Mhm.
living, she grew up in India in much earlier days,
Mhm.
that I could have that faith that, okay, if she's much older than me, she was like my parents' age, and she's saying this to me, it would make sense as an Indian, because you look at your culture and your
Right.
upbringing and what is right and what is not
Mhm.
right. Am I defying? Am I going? Because at that time we were, my parents wanted to really maintain the Indian values in
Right.
America,
Mhm.
and so there was a lot of restrictions put in. So I think
Mhm.
that really helped me come out of my shell and start trusting myself and start
Okay.
doing that. So you need, I always feel you need that kind of a friend
Mhm.
to look at things neutrally, and
Mhm.
from the same culture really helps, because then that you're within that boundaries and within
Right.
that framework as well.
Because nobody wants to be ostracized. So yeah.
Exactly. Oh, and
Mhm.
I didn't want to go against my parents because I realized all of this was for my benefit.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I was also suffocated by
Right.
by the way they had raised me,
Mhm.
because they were raising me in an environment that didn't make sense, because whatever they did, if I was lived in India, would have been perfect.
Right.
We didn't consider that we're in a totally different environment,
Mhm.
so it requires maintaining your values, but with a different way of doing things
Right.
that made sense within the environment.
Mhm. So your friend told you, hey, listen, you may need to look at your nutrition, you may need to look at your lifestyle, not in the sense that you said you and your husband were happy, but
Yeah,
the pressures of everyone else around you to act and be a certain way, act, think, and behave in a
yeah.
certain manner. And so what was the first step in change that you made?
I started with food because that was
Okay.
the easiest thing, right?
Mhm.
So we started with eating more home cooked meals, more vegetables, more fruits. Started eliminating like dairy, processed foods,
Mhm.
those easy to make dinners, those kind of things. So started really cooking everything at home.
Mhm.
Eliminated, sodas and sugar, those
Mhm.
kind of things. And that made a whole huge difference. I also started a whole food supplement called Juice Plus, which made a huge difference. So, and then as I started to be able to walk again and move again, I incorporated exercise on a regular basis, hydrating myself more. And the biggest thing, Tracy, I started being kinder to myself. I started treating myself as my own best friend and had compassion, more compassion for myself, just like I had for anyone else. Um, so I think that made the second big difference. I stopped a lot of negative talks. I stopped putting myself down, like, oh, you couldn't do this. You couldn't maintain your plan for a week. You're so stupid, right?
Right.
Those
Yeah.
kind of
Giving
things.
yourself grace.
Giving myself grace. And the fact that I had my son, I was no longer doing it for myself.
Right.
I was doing it for someone else. I was doing it for a child that
So you
depended
had
on me.
external motivation.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like this child did not ask to be here. You brought him into this world.
Right.
And so it becomes your responsibility. So becoming a parent really changes a lot of things. I had no choice.
Right.
I had no choice. So I think these things just kept going and going and going until I said, okay, I was basically pushed against the wall and I had no choice but to make these changes.
How long after implementing the change did you start to see a change in your the way your body felt? Like, reduction in pain and fatigue or adrenal syndrome. I think that's what they call it when you
Yeah.
have chronic
It took
fatigue syndrome.
about 4 to 6 months, really, for me to, start taking care of my basic needs regularly. And then about 6 months to start being able to, do the cooking and the cleaning, that kind of stuff, and really take care of my son on my own. So, I'm still on that journey. It's a never-ending journey.
Ending journey. Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause
And
you
that's
have
one of the
to.
things I wanted to get to, because I wanted to see if you were going to tell me that, like, you don't have those symptoms anymore. Everything is just fine and everything went away, because I too have gone through something similar. Still am, because, it's a roller coaster
Yeah,
sometimes, right?
it is,
So
and I
things in
will.
your life happen, and then if you're not managing your stress properly, you're not giving yourself grace, you're not taking care of yourself because you have outside stressors that you can't help, it tends to flare up. So, and I don't know for you, but for me, flare ups can put me in bed for like 3 weeks.
Yes. So I will tell you, Tracy, I
Hmm.
don't have those symptoms anymore.
Hmm.
And it's because of the continued journey. It's
Okay.
understanding what are your triggers that cause
Hmm.
your flare-ups. It's
Hmm.
understanding what are the foods that will cause your flare-ups.
Hmm.
So in this process, also, as I became, past that 4 to 6 months,
Hmm.
um, when I was into this for a couple of years, I also started looking at the people around me who is causing these kind of things. So
Gotcha.
elimination didn't just stick to food and
Hmm.
thoughts; it went on to people.
It's
It went
holistic.
on, exactly. It went into, so it started with food,
Hmm.
exercise, habits, negative self-talks, and then
Hmm.
the people, right?
Okay.
And as I got more strength and as I got more courage, I started letting go of certain people.
Mm.
Friends are easy to do, families are difficult,
Yeah.
right? So then after that, I went on to family, and then I went on to, other things, and then looking at other life factors, other kind of traumas that
Hmm.
I didn't consider trauma because I thought it was just part of life, like everyone
Right.
else. But then, as you grow, and went through coaching and counseling, which I think is so important to do,
Hmm.
discovered there were traumas. So working through those things, because these are symptoms that your body tells you when it's had enough,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
When you've had enough, and you
Yeah.
don't recognize that.
Hmm.
When you go, so you have to go back and see where did everything start? Because you have to get to the root cause, right? So when you get to the root cause, you see a lot of things and you try to work through those things. And the other reason, so I understood what all of that is, and I make sure I manage. Do I get off track all the time? But then I come back on track, right?
Okay.
When I go to parties, I do eat things I'm not supposed to eat, but then come Monday, I get
You
back,
go back.
right?
Gotcha.
So that's really,
I guess that's part of giving yourself grace as well.
exactly, yeah.
Mhm.
Because you're human, you're going to, life is lifing,
Mhm.
and you want to have fun, right? So
Right.
when I drink, I have a couple of drinks, then that week you have to get back on track, right? So it's these things. Otherwise, losing 3 weeks at a time is hard,
It is.
right? It's
Yes,
like,
it is.
yeah, you're like you're on a momentum, and then when that
Mhm.
momentum is at the high, and you're like, I've arrived, there it goes.
Yeah.
And then you're out for 3 weeks. I was
Yeah.
on that roller coaster all the time. So I
Yeah.
figured out for me, what
Mhm.
do I need to do to stay consistent like that?
Consistent. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then giving yourself time,
Mhm.
like if you had a busy work week, give yourself time. So when I do my master classes and my summits and my events, I make sure I built in the time to rest and
Buffer time.
yeah.
Mhm.
So you
Yeah.
need that pre and you need
Mhm.
that post. So it's understanding
Mhm.
yourself well
Mhm.
enough and then integrating those things within your day and within your month and the things that you want to do. And most importantly, Tracy,
Mhm.
making sure that you're having fun and there's joy in your life, at least if not daily, then a couple times during the week, because we can get so focused as women just on work,
Yeah.
work, 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 work. We need to bring in our feminine side, and we
Yeah.
need to make sure we're doing something
Mhm.
for ourselves.
Selves. Yeah. Self-care is essential. It is really essential. But if you had to give somebody a plan of how to get started, like your top 3 things, like do this starting Monday, like what would those top 3 things be? Like this is not the end question. This is just how does someone get started along this journey?
Understand that you
Mhm.
have wisdom, right? Don't always look some of the things, all the things that I did, I
Mhm.
had to go inwards and listen to myself. So
Mhm.
know that you have wisdom. Do a self-audit, right? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What brings you joy? What are you doing too much of? What are you not doing enough of, right?
Right.
What is your goal? What is it that you want? You have to start with that, right? What is it
Mhm.
that you want? What is that outcome that you want?
Mhm.
And for that outcome that you really want, is it possible? Is it realistic?
Mhm.
Right? I had to start with, I wanted to walk again and I wanted to get out of bed again, but I couldn't start with that, right? It's like, okay, if I can sit up in bed
How long were you down for?
for about 4 months, four to
About
six
4
months.
months after you had your son.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was that. It was able to sit up and be able to hold my baby in my arm, right?
Right.
So it started with, those little things that makes it made realistic for me.
Mhm.
Right? Um, so having those small wins, right? So we ignore the small wins, but it's
Mhm.
those small wins that multiply over time that give you that bigger win, right?
Right.
So understanding what your goal is, understanding the outcome that you want, is it feasible for you? Maybe you have to take a smaller part of that
Right.
outcome you want, slice it into, 5, 6 different
Mhm.
outcomes,
Mhm.
and strive for that. So
When we talk about the food changes, I can say 100% that helps a lot. We
yeah,
don't realize how many chemicals and forever chemicals we're consuming with the processed foods. I remember when my daughter was younger, she had some issues. And like I said, I have a few autoimmune diseases myself. And we did clean eating for years, and it completely changed so many things, and I think prevented so many things from happening with my children.
yeah,
Um, that friends of mine who didn't practice that kind of eating, I could see. And I was like, so I used to tell them, like, hey, maybe you need to cut out this, and this, and you'll see a change in your child's behavior, blah, blah, blah. And they used to think I was just talking nonsense. A lot of them tried it and it actually worked, you know?
Yeah.
And I do understand that for a lot of people, clean eating, healthy eating is quite expensive, but you just eat less, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Mhm.
Maybe,
Yeah.
if you're having processed food every day, soda
Mhm.
definitely anyone can. That's expensive to begin with too,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So soda is something you would definitely eliminate
Mhm. Mhm.
right away. Um, but yeah, the other thing is making that choice of living that kind of life, right? What
Yeah.
is fun for you, right?
Mhm.
And what are the things that you want to do? I was on over 30 medications and it was just getting too much, right? I did not want to live that kind of a life.
Yeah.
And luckily for me, I was able to come, reduce all of that based on the all the steps I said to do.
Mhm.
But the other thing also is, Tracy, what I found out is that the healthy food that we
Mhm.
think is healthy may not be healthy
For
for our
you.
body type. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the first step, right? You eliminate all the processed food,
Mhm.
eat, do the clean eating, like you said, and
Mhm.
then once you're on that track, only then will you know which healthy foods is not healthy for you.
Right. Because every time I say I have something wrong, somebody's always recommending something, and I'm like, I can't have that. And
Yeah,
they're like, yeah, it's really good for what you have. I'm like, I'm allergic to that. I can't have it. You know? And they're like, what aren't you allergic to? I said, I have a lot of allergies. So things that you guys keep recommending and being like, hey, take this. I can't have it.
yeah.
You know? So yeah. I totally understand that. So this has been very informative. I love this conversation. Always, I don't know why I tend to get people on this podcast who have had similar situations that I have had. So it's always really good to hear from someone else and how they dealt with the situation and have
Yeah.
overcome. So I'm really happy to have had you here today. So we're going to try to wrap up. And one of the questions I ask at the end is, what makes you an impactor?
Oh boy, what makes me an impactor?
Mhm.
Um, what makes me an impactor is that I help people reconnect with their voice and express it in a way that really creates a real change for them. And when someone stops holding back and they start owning their story, like I did, you start to lead differently. You
Mhm.
start to decide differently, and you show up differently for
Mhm.
yourself and for everyone else around you. And that doesn't change your life, it changes everyone else around you also. It changes how you show up for your family, for your work,
Mhm.
and the people around you. And that's the kind of impact that I really care about.
Okay. And what are the top three impactor tips that you would leave the audience with who are in the similar situation and are ready to get started or want to know what to do to get started?
You really learn how to advocate for yourself is the
Mhm.
first step, right? Learn how to advocate for yourself and learn how, don't be afraid to ask questions, right? If you don't get I didn't get the answers for the first doctor, so I went to the second, to the third, to the fourth, to the
Mhm.
11th, right? um,
Mhm.
so do whatever it takes, and if people start getting annoyed with you, it's okay, because you need your answers. If
Right.
you'll find someone else that will answer your questions.
Mhm.
And also start questioning yourself too, right? Ask yourself, does this still feel true for me? Second is, don't just stay busy, right? Create something that reflects your thoughts, the way you think, your voice, and your perspective.
Mhm.
And third, pay attention to your energy. It will tell you what's aligned and what's not. That's what I call power of alignment.
Oh, I love that. Pay attention for real. Because
Yeah.
usually we have that third eye or whatever you want to call it
Mhm.
that tells you this is not a good idea. And we tend to be like, "Oh, steer away. I want to do
Exactly.
this." So we don't listen to that inner voice. Um,
Yes.
how can the audience find you and interact with you if they're ready to get started on their journey?
They can find me at seemagiri.com. That's SEEMA Giri, GIRI.com. And I'm on LinkedIn as Seema Giri, on Facebook. And I have a podcast, Break Free to Brilliance. So you can find me in all those places.
Okay. And do you want to just tell them briefly what you'll help them to do along the journey? Like, what do you do for them?
So what I really, so I do coaching on, owning your brilliance.
Okay.
Right. So the journey, I have a 6-step formula process for really owning your brilliance, building that self-trust within you, and self-leadership. So you lead in a very different way. Along with that, I help you publish your story, especially if you're an entrepreneur, coach, or a speaker, and you want to build your authority and credibility, or start consulting and your own business based on your journey. I help you publish your story as your own solo book, or in an anthology, which is a multi-author book where you write one chapter under a theme. So the current one is called The Power of Alignment. The inside, the inner shift that unlocks peace, purpose, and prosperity.
Okay.
And so, whether you want to write one chapter or a solo book, and owning your story and self-trust is really a part of that journey that helps you show up really powerful as an author and in what you're building.
Yep. All right, Seema, it was really nice having you as a guest on Impctrs Out Loud today. And to you listening to me, remember to stay impactful. And until next time, bye-bye.